From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
We are back in the friendly confines of the podcast studio here in Raytown, Missouri. Hi, I'm Dale Carter. He is Kurt Wheeler, just to reintroduce ourselves to you. And this program is called Dale Carter's America.
Great.
That was almost like a Mr. Rogers thing, right?
Yeah,
Mr. Rogers thing.
It's okay to feel sad sometimes.
I've got like 5 pages of notes, so this could be a very long podcast. So buckle in. We have a lot to talk about, and we want to thank Bob Watson for being one of our tremendous sponsors here on the podcast. State Farm agent for 5 decades. You can find him at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, on the phone at 816-229-7878. Bundle your home and car insurance and save big bucks. Auto, home, life. If it's important enough to you to insure, you need a good neighbor on your side. And my guy for the last 30 plus years is Bob Watson, licensed in Missouri and Kansas. Like a good neighbor, State Farm, and Bob Watson is there.
Tremendous people.
So many ways that you can be a part of what we do here at Dale Carter's America. We love having you on board. I love hearing from people who parrot things back to me on the podcast, and we'll get to some of that here a little bit later on. But Kurt, for folks who have just stumbled into this episode, how can they be a return customer for free?
For free, yes. You don't even have to pay money. I mean, you can if you want. You can send us money if you'd like to. Send you the P.O. box. Just kidding. But make sure to check us out on Rumble and YouTube for the video version. Drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe, send it to your friends. It all helps us greatly, and we do appreciate it. You can find the audio-only version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and then make sure to follow us on Facebook as well and join in the conversation.
Took a little bit of a break there, and it gave me a chance to see what else is out there. And I came back to a description kind of what our podcast is all about. And I think what it is, Kurt, is it's a safe space for people who love this country, people who root for this country, want this country to do well. And the other side might shame you into thinking that we're really not all that and that we need to lower our standards a little bit. For those of us who want prices to be lower and will celebrate that, who want the stock market to do well and will celebrate that, and always look for a win for America, that's what we're all about. I mean, if you distill it down, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we're pro-American, we're patriotic, we want to see America succeed, and, we're open to disagreement, too. You and I disagree on things. We have people on the podcast that disagree with things, and that's a big part of what we do as well, I think, is just being open to having conversations and seeing things from different perspectives, which a lot of people are not open to these days.
I think the other side, if I can say this from like a 30,000 foot view, you sometimes question why people disagree. What is the motive? What's behind the disagreement? Mm-hmm. When we disagree with the other side on policy things, I think we're on fairly solid ground. We want prices to be low. We want energy to be low. We want all these things in a policy way. And I wonder sometimes if the other side just doesn't crave the power.
Yeah. Or, I think for a lot of people, they were raised or indoctrinated a certain way. Yeah. And it's difficult to get away from that. Something has a grasp on you so firmly. It's hard to admit that you're wrong. It's hard to open yourself up to other perspectives. And so that's understandable. I think people have a hard time with that, especially as you get older. It's easier if you're a young man, in particular. But as you get older, as you get more stuck in your ways, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and there's something to that, I think.
Well, I'm going to disagree firmly on that. I think I am open to change. All right. Well, let's see where we end up here.
We got to teach you some new tricks then.
The news cycle is moving very fast. And up top here, this just happened. SCOTUS has ruled that the Texas redistricting map is legal. And in the judgment that it was a 6-3 decision, you know who the 3 were who dissented, they remind all of us that gerrymandering for political purposes has always been recognized as legal. Understand that. Always legal. I mean, Eldridge Jerry is the person who gerrymandering is named for, and that goes all the way back to the founding of the country, right? So for political purposes, it has always been recognized as legal. Gerrymandering on racial lines is not legal. And that's the argument the Democrats will make. When they redistrict, they're only doing it for political purposes, which is upheld by the Supreme Court. When we redistrict, we're doing it to disenfranchise black people because we hate black people.
Which is funny because when they redistrict, it conveniently is like on racial lines because they know that more black people and more Hispanics are going to vote for them. So, obviously, they're not going to say that explicitly because then it would be illegal, but that's what they're doing.
And all the Republicans are doing this time around, they're playing the Democrat game. Because we've done this before. We've done whole segments on this where we've shown what New England looks like before and after political redistricting, what Illinois looked like before and after political redistricting. There is nothing in the Constitution that says it has to be done only after the census. And so Republicans are getting in the game. And that's why Texas is doing what Texas is doing. Missouri is doing what Missouri is doing. California says, oh yeah, hold my beer. We're going to do it too. So what the Supreme Court told us is that Texas is okay, Missouri is probably okay, California is probably okay.
Yeah.
So that's, you got to take the race baiting out of it, which Democrats just can't handle, because that's always been play number one in the Democrat playbook. You are racist. And this is why elections matter, not just at the federal level. They matter at the state level. I mean, that's why when you look at turnout, Kurt, in elections that are not for Congress, not for the president, when you look at state elections, when you look at school board elections or city council elections, things like that, turnout is really low.
Yeah. What would you say that it is on like a percentage basis? Is it like 10x or 5x or?
I have seen local elections where turnout is like 15%.
Of what it is at the federal
election? Just 15% in general. And then when you look at like a presidential election, it's still not great. It might be 65%.
Right.
So, there is a factor in there. But these elections matter.
But still 50% higher.
Yeah. And if you want your state to represent you in the Congress the way you want it to, you got to get out and vote. Because if you don't, and Democrats, and you look at blue states, look at Illinois. I mean, we've looked at that. I mean, that thing looks like an amoeba stretching from, East St. Louis all the way up through over to eastern Illinois. It looks like a big snake is what it looks like. They're going to do that, and they're going to say that it's political gerrymandering, which is okay according to the Supreme Court. Now, the three liberals on the Supreme Court, they tried to make what Texas is doing about race. Because they're not looking at the law. They're looking at the politics of it. Right. And the politics of it say that it is racist. So we'll see where we go from here. There aren't a lot of blue states that have room to gerrymander, quite frankly. So
because they've done it already.
Yeah. So that's why they're apoplectic about this, because Republicans, they're like, oh no, they saw our playbook. Well, we got to call them racist. This is all about black people. You're just trying to keep black people from voting. And it's not about that at all for either party. This is about winning. Let's call it what it is. Each side wants to win, and they're going to do anything within the law and sometimes outside the law that they need to do to win.
I think it's a little disingenuous to say that it's not about race. I mean, it's not about race in the sense that that's what you're targeting, but there is a pattern here. The rural, whiter places vote Republican. The more urban, not white, black, and Hispanic places vote more Democrat. So that's when the redistricting happens. That's what they do. They incorporate the demographic areas that are going to help them politically. Both sides do it. So,
but at their core, do you think they're doing it to disenfranchise black people?
No, they're not doing it to disenfranchise anybody. They're just doing it to
win.
To win, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. That's the bottom line. They're both just trying to win and doing whatever they can to find their voters, and that's why because states control their election law. And that's why state legislatures matter. That's why governors matter. And that's why elections matter. You know what else matters is keeping your car on the road. You know, we're going to do a segment here in a little bit about car prices and what Donald Trump is trying to do to bring car prices down. But the average automobile, the average new automobile now, average is $50,000.
Wow.
I mean, that incorporates, you know, the basic transportation that you can get down here and the more luxury vehicles. But gosh, and again, the old guy here. I'm going to tell you that when I was a kid,
Back in my day,
you know, the most high quality car you could get was a Cadillac, and I think they were about $25,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
and what year was this?
Yeah. Stop it. It was like the 70s.
Okay.
All right.
No, it was a genuine question.
Yeah,
I'm not,
so
not a dig. at all.
$25,000 for a Cadillac, and that was like, man, you really made it if you could pay $25,000 for a car.
Yeah,
Now,
$25,000 was a lot in the 70s.
average car.
Yeah.
I mean, my vehicle that I bought in 2023 is not a luxury vehicle, and it was $42,000.
Yeah.
So that's just where new car prices are. That's why you got to take care of the car you have. Trust me, I'm not buying a new car for a long time. Mine's got all-wheel drive, which helped me when we had the surprise snowstorm on Monday morning in Kansas City. And all-wheel drive is going to be important to me. But what I'm driving now is a Mazda. And it's one of the many brands that you can get serviced at Christian Brothers Automotive in Independence. My good friend Tim Porter, faith-based organization, just a truly nice man who will do everything in the world for you. And I know when it comes to getting our cars fixed, sometimes we're a little leery about that because we don't know what they're going to do and what they're going to charge us. And maybe they know more about cars than we do. Tim Porter will hold your hand through the entire process. You'll get text messages along the way. They'll explain it to you in a way that you can understand. And they're really going to take care of your cars. I've taken mine to Christian Brothers for a long time. They're independently owned and operated. The one that Tim owns and operates is on 40 Highway. It's just to the east of 470, 291 there in Independence, right there in the middle of where the lanes split.
By the Popeyes.
Yeah, by the Popeyes, if you need a geographic reference. In fact, go get some Popeyes and then...
Not sponsored. We're not sponsored by Popeyes.
Well, yeah, exactly. So get your car fixed. Don't take me down a rabbit hole here. Whatever they do for your car is going to be warranted for 3 years, 36,000 miles, whichever benefits you the most. So call them up, get that first appointment. Let's see what shape your car is in. 816-675-4587. 816-675-4587 for Christian Brothers in Independence. Make sure you find Tim Porter. Good guy. Royal Roofing and Solar, another fantastic guy. Man, you're finding out now if your roof needs to be replaced, and you're finding it out the hard way as we went through a snowstorm here in Kansas City. Get Austin Watterson and his team up on your roof. They're not like your door-to-door roof salespeople, and they're out there everywhere, promising you the world that they can get you a new roof and your insurance company is going to pay for it. That's the old school way. The new school way is for a roofing company like Royal Roofing and Solar to work with insurance companies. What can we do? What's going to be the best deal for you, the homeowner, in terms of your insurance rates and getting you the best possible roof on that house? It's the biggest investment you have, probably, and Roof by Royal is going to help you make sure that you keep that investment. 816-540-7057. They're on the web at roofedbyroyal.com. They're the folks that did the roof at my house, and they're waiting to get up on your roof and see what needs to be done on your roof. A roofer that you can trust. All right? Important stuff going on there. So the Truman County update, and we have a Truman County update. We kind of put that in a drawer for a while. Remember when we had Mike Steinmeyer on? Mm-hmm. Good guy. He represents Sugar Creek in the Missouri legislature, and he's probably going to be on again at some point. And we've had some discussions offline about what he is thinking about doing, because when he was on the podcast, he said, I've got the nuclear option. I've got a bill in my drawer, and we're going to pull this pin, and we're going to get this ball rolling here. I didn't know he was going to do it when he did it, right? I saw it in the news, and I called him up. I'm like, whoa, what happened here? He pre-filed the bill, which is a motion that you can do in the legislature. Just like walk it forward a little bit, get it out there in public. And what the bill says is it's a process whereby We would separate the eastern suburbs from Kansas City, something we've been talking about for years on this podcast. When we talk about things coming back around full circle to us, Kurt, when people come up to me and they say, hey, have you heard about Truman County? They're actually talking about taking the eastern suburbs. Now, that conversation's been going on for a long time, but when you add a name to it, when you say Truman County, you know where that started.
Yeah.
That started right here.
Yep.
Because it was our effort to say, okay, what would we call the thing? Harry Truman's buried here. It's available in Missouri. Why not Truman County? So when they say Truman County, we know where it came from. But that we have to deal with issues. There would be a city-county transition team that would deal with issues like law enforcement, the courts, taxation, public transportation, utilities, and, of course, the sports complex. So why now? And that was the question I had for Mike. It's like, why now? And he's like, it's momentum. Look what happened. Because there are people out there like John Bedoin, God love him, journalist in Lee Summit, who says this will never happen. This has been talked about forever. It's just never going to happen. How many people thought that the citizens of Jackson County would recall the executive?
Yeah.
Nobody. And the momentum, the groundswell happened, and 85% of the voters fired Frank White. And then 90% of the voters said, you know what we want you to do next? We want an elected assessor. And now we've got Phil Lavoda in there. I think Phil is doing a fantastic job, but he's just the interim executive. Eventually, we're going to have an election, and you know with the demographics, it's going to be a Democrat, and it won't be Phil Lavoda. And then we may go back through all of this again. So he's like, momentum is there. Let's keep talking about it. It's a long process if it happens. Think about the most complicated divorce you've ever seen. That's what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Who gets this debt? Who gets this asset?
Yeah. Who gets the cat? Who gets the Cadillac?
The sports complex.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be a biggie and all that. And then, I was thinking about this, and my wife's like, oh, you don't want to be out in front on this because you're running for the Jackson County legislature. And I said, I know, but I can't run away from this. We've been talking about it for years on this podcast. And if anybody ran against me, and if it were a negative issue, they would snipe stuff off of this podcast and say, here's what Dale Carter said there.
Yeah.
And here's what Dale Carter's saying now.
Yeah.
So Dale Carter being me, I'm going to be consistent in this. And I think the best long-term strategy for the people who live in eastern Jackson County is to have our own county. It just makes perfect sense.
Yep.
What do we have in common with the folks in Kansas City? And the people I'm talking to on the campaign trail, they come to me and they're like, where are you at with this thing? Because we really need a county of our own. And the question that I would ask the folks in Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, Democrats who live in Kansas City, is what is the benefit to me in Blue Springs, my friends in Grain Valley, Oak Grove, Buckner? What is our benefit in being in Jackson County? What do we get out of it? Mm-hmm. I don't think we get anything out of it. I don't think you get anything out of it in Raytown. Mm-hmm. You just don't. They are there to take your property tax money and redistribute it, in ways that they think are beneficial. And
to the city primarily.
To the city.
Yeah.
They've all got their pet projects, and I just don't think that's the best long-term plan for that. Now, what I will say is I am running in District 5. Okay, I want to represent the people who live in Blue Springs, Grain Valley, Oak Grove, Buckner, a little slice of Independence. And I'm going to go where they go. And ultimately, what Steinmeyer is trying to get done here is he wants a vote of the people to determine where we're going here. And if overwhelmingly, like we saw with the assessor and with Frank White, if they agree that we need to separate, and this will include people in Kansas City, I'm going to go with the people that elect me in eastern Jackson County. Mm-hmm. If we stay in Jackson County, I'm going to try and represent their best interests. So I'm there. I'm not running at large. I had the opportunity to run at large. I don't want to run at large. I want to represent the people, my friends and neighbors in eastern Jackson County. And that's so I'm going to be there either way if I win. Either it's going to be Truman County down the road, a long road, or it's going to be Jackson County with me trying to look out for the best interests of the people who would have elected me. That's the way it should be.
I mean, even if this does go forward and start to gain momentum, this House Joint Resolution number 107, it's like you said, it's going to take a long time. So it probably wouldn't even take effect during your term. If you were to win, it would be after.
Might not even be in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Might not even be in your lifetime.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand on it, and that I think I'm comfortable in that, and I'm comfortable with somebody sniping that off the podcast and trying to shove it up my backside, sideways. My website, if you want to take a look and if you want to be part of the campaign, we'd love to have you. Right now, we're in kind of a pause. We're going to kickstart things again in January. Then it's going to be a door-to-door campaign, events in Eastern Jackson County. I'm at dalecarter.us. That is the website for the campaign, and we would love to have your support. You don't have to live in Jackson County in order to contribute to the campaign, and we will take whatever money we raise and we'll use it very wisely. Trust me, my wife will tell you nobody's better with money than I am, and I will not spend any dime that I don't have to spend. And I take all those donations very seriously, and we take care of that money. All right. I heard this from somebody else, so I can't remember where I heard it, but I'm going to say it, so I guess I'll take credit for it. When they say things, Kurt, like, insurance is a human right, our friend Bernie, we need to turn it on them and say that there are things that are also human rights that are delineated in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution through the amendments. We have a human right to protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. We have a human right to free speech. Those are human rights, and we should own those human rights. And where the Second Amendment comes in, you have a human right to protect yourself and your family. This is very serious. Things are going on here, and we see it all the time. We see Guards members who have been called in to help the DC police with the crime wave that's going through the nation's capital. Of course, the Democrats say there is no crime wave. It's actually getting a whole lot better. And then one of the guys that Joe Biden brings into the country, he pops off some shots at Guard members and kills one of them.
Yeah.
So they're out there. We have problems in this country. And if you want to protect your family, it starts with a visit to Clay Como Shooters. They're on 69 Highway in Clay Como. You can reach them at 816-452-4867. They are a full-service firearms dealer. They are fantastic people to work with. They will get you trained. First of all, they'll find the right firearm. What's comfortable for you? And then how do you use it? And how do you turn your house into something you can defend so that you can hold that fort until the cops get there when you call 911? Indoor shooting range, affordable pricing. They're not a big box store. Neighborhood business. They're looking out for the community. So protect yourself and your family. Find that right firearm and get trained on it with my friends at Clay Como Shooters. We are coming down the wire. In fact, by the time you see this episode of the podcast, the annual enrollment period for Medicare will probably be over. December 7th, the deadline there. And I know that Kirk Doris has had his hands full because of viewers and listeners of our podcast. They have been flooding into Medicare Simplified KC because that's what he does. That's what Kirk Doris does. He takes the complicated Medicare thing and he makes it simple for you. Because your situation is going to be different than my situation. And I'm not even there yet. I'm already thinking about it. For me, it's 3 years down the road before I'm going to join Medicare. And I'm already thinking about it. If you've got a family member, or maybe it's you who are approaching 65, you need to be thinking about it. It changes every year. And with the big, beautiful bill, it certainly has changed a lot. You got to know which plan, which part, what supplement you're going to need. Let Kirk Doris navigate those waters as he's done for thousands of your friends and neighbors. 816-701-6661. They're at 3600 South Nolan Road in Independence. On the web, that's the easiest way to find them, is MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. There you go. So, this segment is I just don't understand Democrats. I just don't. And maybe, we try and have people on who have a different viewpoint than we do, and I try and understand where they're coming from, and I just don't. I think they're being disingenuous about things like climate change, which now, even some of their own side, wink, wink, nod, nod, they don't believe in it. But they want you to believe in it. They want you to change your whole life view and your whole whatever you do in life to bend to their will. Is it just about power, incompetence, corruption? Why did Biden open the border and allow so many people to come in who clearly do not share our values? We're seeing that all over the news, right? Immigration, historically, when you think about this, your family, Kurt, my family, when they came to this country, it was about getting into this country, wanting to be an American, wanting to share our values. Wanting, when I started the podcast today, it was all talking about this is a safe space for people who are rooting for the country. People who came in, my relatives from Germany who came in, they wanted to be part of the American story. And I don't think that's happening right now, And if you notice, you're a racist. You're not allowed to notice this kind of stuff. The Somalis who've come into Minnesota, they're from Africa. You're not supposed to notice that. You're a racist. Well, I'm sorry. I'm an American, and I do notice when people come into the country, don't share our values and want to try and change it.
The mayor of Minneapolis is giving speeches in Somali.
That's just not right.
I mean, it's just like on its face ridiculous. You know? Shouldn't have to really think too hard to realize that that's not a good idea.
Yeah. So case number one, I've got a couple of cases I want to talk about here. Biden resettling former Afghans who were working with the CIA to fight the Taliban. He assured us, remember the videos, him and Jen Psaki, who came out at the time, they assured us that the people they were bringing into this country were vetted and safe. Vetted and safe. Those were the two words that they use. And then when you get Mayorkas, who was our head of Homeland Security, what a joke he was. Absolute joke when you look back at the rearview mirror of what he did. He folded like a cheap suit. Josh Hawley put him under a light that's kind of as bright as the new one that you've got here in the studio that you're not going to turn on, right?
No, not today.
Yeah, that would blind me at this point. But this is our first video today. Mayorkas testifying in front of Josh Hawley and folding like a cheap suit.
You've testified several times already this morning that you have, I'm going to quote you now, rigorous screening and vetting in place. Rigorous is your word for Afghan evacuees, refugees who have tens of thousands of them who have been brought to this country after the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan that this administration conducted. Historically disastrous, I might add, in which 13 American service members were killed, including one from my home state. Hundreds, maybe thousands of Americans left behind to the enemy where they still remain. It's your testimony that rigorous screening and vetting has occurred. So I assume that you mean by that at least the standard refugee screening process is, if it's rigorous, it's at least the standard refugee screening process. Is that correct? Am I right about that?
Senator, I do think it deviates from the refugee screening, but we have taken steps to make sure that the program is indeed rigorous, and I use that term advisedly.
I noted that you used it advisedly. It deviates, though, from the standard screening procedures. You're conducting in-person interviews of all of the refugees per the standard procedures. You testified that 100% of these people have been screened and vetted. So you're conducting in-person interviews per the standard procedures of all of these refugees?
Senator, our U.S. Customs and Border Protection personnel have physical contact and question each individual at the port of entry. If there is any question with respect to that individual, any derogatory information or any question that bears on the individual's safety, the safety of the American people, that individual can be placed in secondary.
Well, wait a minute. That's not my question. My question is, are you conducting the standard security procedure is the standard screening procedure for refugees is they are given an in-person interview to find out, for example, if they're a terrorist. So you said 100% of these evacuees are screened. Have they all been given in-person interviews per the normal process?
They have not all been given
Why not?
interviews because we have to be mindful of the fact that we were in an emergency situation to evacuate U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, special immigrant visa holders, and others who have.
And what percentage do those, the special immigrant visa holders and American citizens, what percentage of the total tens of thousands did those constitute?
I have that information for you. If you'll give me 1 minute,
The answer is it's an extremely small percentage. I mean, it's maybe a few thousand out of 60,000 who have come to this country. So my question is, why are you not conducting in-person interviews of the people who have been brought here to this country? Don't you think that's dangerous?
I do not, Senator. I think that if, in fact, there is information adduced that gives any cause for concern, number one, the individual is not brought to the United States.
Well, wait a minute. When you say that, I just want to be clear about this. When you say any information, you mean if they are already in our database as a terrorist or a criminal or a terrorist affiliate, right?
Senator, we capture the biometric and biographic information of the individuals in the transit countries.
Right. And if I understand that. And if they're in our databases already as a terrorist or a terrorist affiliate or a known criminal, then maybe you're saying there's a fault, then maybe they get an interview. But what about, so that's fine, but what about the thousands, tens of thousands of people who aren't already in our database? The people who we don't know who they are, have they been interviewed?
Senator, what we do is we capture their biographic.
I think that's enough. Yeah. I mean, you get the idea that no. And when they say, oh, everybody who got here, it's perfectly safe. Perfectly safe. There's a family of a Guard member from West Virginia who would disagree. Yeah. Actually, two families, one burying their daughter, and the other, last we heard, he's still holding on as this guy shot both of them in the head. So we essentially, and I don't want to piss off pit bull owners because I've done that before on my show on KFKF.
I'll piss off pit bull owners all day.
Well, I mean, they are a lobby, and our phone was flooded like you couldn't believe. And all I did was play a funny song. I've said I'm not going to play Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer on KFKF, and we had a version called Grandma Got Disfigured by Our Pit Bull. And I played that, and oh my God. So anyway, we had essentially pit bulls working for us in Afghanistan, right? Yeah. And then we brought them into the United States. Are we shocked that one of them wandered into Washington, D.C. and started shooting Guards members? We should not be, right?
Yeah, and, he at least told the truth that they're not conducting interviews, but what he's not telling the truth about is why they're not conducting the interviews. It's because it's an emergency situation or blah, blah, blah. But they're going to say that about every refugee, quote unquote. When have they said that a refugee is not an emergency situation? They're always going to say that. They're always going to have some excuse for why they can't vet these people and they have to bring them in. Well, and it's like, you have to, unless there's a better explanation, you have to kind of assume that it's like to destroy our country. You know what I mean? Like one would wonder. It kind of seems like that.
And when he says it's an emergency, who created the emergency?
Yeah.
They did. Yeah. With their hideous pullout from Afghanistan that all of their generals said was a bad idea. Yeah. But Biden, he got a hard on for it. Maybe, man, that's probably not a good term to use in terms of Biden.
Pause.
Yeah.
I wanted to give props to Hawley too in that specific segment, but in general, I'm not watching C-SPAN all the time or anything like that, but all the clips that I've seen of him questioning people in these Senate hearings, he's like one of the best, if not the best. And the reason I say that is because he's not grandstanding. Mm-mm. You see a lot of these people, Ted Cruz does it, a lot of the other big name Republicans do it. They get up there and they beat their chest and they try and do like a soapbox speech, and they're not really asking questions, or if they do, they ask a question and then they rant for like 5 minutes and they allow the person to escape. But Hawley's really good at, listening, responding, and getting right to the point and asking the question and not making it about himself.
Well, a little quick diversion down a cul-de-sac. I'm reading the book from John Kennedy that he wrote about how not to be stupid in D.C.
Yeah.
And
he's good at it too.
And he is very good at it. We've had a lot of clips from him on. He talks about members on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. And you should read that book. When I'm done with it, I'll give it to you to read it.
Yeah, the grandstanding is just too much. I can't take it.
So, if you're a Democrat, think about this. You're already pissed that Trump is bringing Guards members into cities, all right? You're ranting and you're raving about that. And now this guy kills two of the Guards members who were brought in to protect people in Washington, D.C. Okay. Would they rather he shot civilians? That's the conundrum they have, right? You can't, I'm mad about this. Okay, well, he came to town, you brought him here, and he shot two of the Guards members. Maybe you would prefer he shot, then they'll probably go back to, well, if guns weren't so available in this country, he would not have had a gun.
Yeah. Not if Afghans weren't so available in this country, if guns weren't so available.
All right. Case number 2, Somalis in Minnesota. We kind of teased that a little bit. The man who wanted to be vice president of the United States seemed to turn a blind eye when massive amounts of fraud, you've heard this story, right?
Yeah.
Uncovered among Somalis in his state. We got a clip, run it to about 142.
Started at 142?
No. Run it until 142.
Okay, gotcha.
Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can.
Governor Tim Walz is struggling to defend reports of massive fraud that occurred under his watch, some of which reportedly went to the Somali terrorist organization al-Shabaab. The New York Times is reporting everyone, including Walz, was ignoring the warning signs because they were fearful of alienating the Somali community. And a lawyer representing one of the Somalis convicted of fraud said, quote, "It was like stealing money from the cookie jar." But instead of taking responsibility, Walz is attacking, guess who? Trump.
That is totally disconnected with demonizing an entire group of people who came here fleeing civil war and created a vibrant community that makes Minnesota and this country better. But that's Donald Trump. Deflect, demonize, come up with no solutions. He's not going to help fix anything on fraud. My God, there's a big difference between fraud and corruption is something he knows about.
All right. Way to deflect there, Tim Walz. And I read another report that a lot of Democrats were advising Kamala Harris not to pick him as VP because they knew that this was out there, right? And she did it anyway. And we know why she picked him, because it's that whole sliding scale thing. Obama wanted somebody dumber than him, and he got Biden. Biden wanted somebody dumber than him, and he got Harris. And Harris, there weren't a lot left. She couldn't take Shapiro. Shapiro would run circles around her. So she got Tim Walz. And if you missed it there in those clips, 2 of the 5 plays in the Democrat playbook were used there. You're racist if you noticed, because these Somalis, they were fleeing civil war. They came here to set up their own community. Well, they came over to Minnesota.
A beautiful, vibrant community that makes Minnesota great.
Exactly. Their own Somali community where they're speaking Somali and bringing their culture with them, not assimilating to the American culture. They're creating their own culture. So you're racist if you notice that, okay? And it's essentially Trump's fault. That's another one of our plays in the 5-play Democrat playbook.
I've said this before, and I can't remember if we had a disagreement on this or not, but it's like, if your country is just your borders, then what's the problem with this? If your country is just the landmass that you live in, then we can bring all the Somalians we want, and it doesn't matter. Or we can move, it's like the question is, if we take everyone from Somalia and we bring them to America, and we take everyone from America and move them to Somalia, which country is Somalia and which country is America?
I get your point.
You know what I mean?
And I'm coming around to your point because I think there are a lot of things that we have pride in America. We believe in American exceptionalism. And there are people on the left who don't, who think that we're the problem. And if only we had more of that culture here, we'd be a better country. And I don't agree.
Yeah.
And I don't think you do either.
Nope.
So we've seen, again, where is the effort seen by many groups of immigrants in the past to become part of the American culture? That's what we've been talking about here. We're seeing groups now coming to get what they can and then steal what they can't, right? And that's what's going on in Minnesota, and that's the problem. And again, we're racist for noticing that. Trump has responded, as you know, by revoking green cards and putting immigration from non-European countries on hold. It's a prudent step, and Democrats, as they often are apoplectic.
You now have Trump and his allies calling for the denaturalization of some U.S. citizens who weren't born in the United States. Is it even possible to do that en banc? And if not, are there legal loopholes that Trump's DOJ may try to exploit in order to force that idea of denaturalization?
Well, it seems like the Muslim ban from Trump's first term is back, but it's on steroids now with this idea of denaturalizing people.
You now have Trump and his allies calling for the denaturalization.
That maybe not as apoplectic as you might think. There are some other clips where they are even more hair on fire. But it is a prudent step. It was a prudent step in the first term. They called it the Muslim ban. He called it the dangerous country ban because there were people from dangerous countries coming here and doing things. And he's like, well, we'll just put an end to that for now. We'll pause all of that. And that's essentially what he's doing here, especially with what happened with, again, the Afghani pit bull who came to this country I think he was resettled on the West Coast somewhere, brought his whole family, and then, he just went off the rails and ends up in Washington, D.C. with a gun looking for an American target to shoot.
Right. Screaming Allahu Akbar.
Yeah. So whose side are they on? That's my question. And what is their ultimate plan? Because ours is very plain. Ours is very clear. We believe in American exceptionalism. We believe if you're going to come to this country, you should be part of what we are doing. You should be part of the American experiment. You should not be trying to set up your country over here because you fled that. This is, my wife gets her hair on fire about people who leave places like California and they go to a red state like Texas or Florida, and then they start trying to Californicate it.
Right. Right.
That's essentially what's happening outside this country. They're trying to come here and set up their own civilization.
Yeah, they flee, quote unquote, to a better place, quote unquote, which is America, and then they maintain their national identity and their national pride. It doesn't make any sense. It's because it's pure materialism. It's a materialist outcome that they're looking for. They're coming here because they can make more money, they can get welfare. They're not coming here because of American, culture or identity or any of these things. They don't care about that. They want to subvert all that. Not in every case, but in many cases, That's why they come here and they wave the Mexican flag. They wave the Somali flag. They speak Somalian. They don't speak English, So these are things that, and isn't that like, I don't know. I mean, I've never immigrated here, but wasn't that a thing like on the citizenship test? Like when you came on Ellis Island, it's like, will you agree to speak English? Will you agree to,
exactly.
do all these things? And
can you imagine? What if we went to one of their countries, especially one of these places that has really strict Sharia law, and we decide, hey, we're going to open a strip club over here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to have American flags going. We're going to put a baseball team over here and a football team over there. How do you think that would work out?
Yeah. Open up a breakfast shop with bacon in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Why not, right? If they could do it to us, why can't we do it to them? It's not a two-way street.
Because they actually care about their national identity and they wouldn't put up with it.
Right. I think a lot of them are coming here because they know we've got Funhouse Pizza.
That's
true.
They
are coming for the pizza.
That is true. Verified true.
Yeah. Jim Dingman's got 2 of those restaurants, one on 50 Highway in Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. I mean, he cares about the culture there, too. It's all about fun, but you got to pull your damn pants up when you come in. None of this baggy pants and your boxers and your butt crack showing and all that. That doesn't fly with Jim Dingman at Funhouse Pizza. Fantastic pizza, great gathering spot. You see in the video, you see kids having a great time. They've got rides, they've got video games.
They've got Cruisin' USA, the driving game. Oh, man. Had great times.
Incredible pizza, too. If you like your toppings piled high, that's what they do at Funhouse. The drinks are really cold, and you can book a party for a birthday party. Maybe it's a team gathering. Whichever you've got going on there, he can accommodate you. 7 Highway in Blue Springs is the smaller of the 2. The bigger one is 50 Highway in Lee Summit. Either are fun, because that's the name, Funhouse Pizza. Order your pizza online, and they'll have it ready for you when you get there, funhousepizza.com. Michael Schroer was on our last episode. We were talking about real estate. He's my real estate guru, my go-to on all of this. And we are seeing rates coming down. Things are getting better in America. I know the Democrats don't like that, and they want you to believe that it's really, really bad right now. But rates are coming down. Homes are being built. And if you're ready to take that step into home ownership, Michael Schroer will hold your hand through that whole process. First time home, maybe it's a bigger home because you're having more kids. Maybe your kids are going off to college, you want to downside. Maybe you've even found that piece of property you want to build on. This is the guy you need to reach out to. He's at Remax Elite in Lee Summit. You can reach him. Probably the best way is on his cell phone. That's 816-520-9342. Leave him a message at the office if you want, 816-373-8400. He will call you back and get the ball rolling. Selling your house, buying a new house, he can do all of that from his office, which I think most of the time is in his car. RE/MAX Elite and Lease Summit. He's a man on the move, man. It's hard to nail him down, but he's going to take care of you in the real estate world. I promise you that. So meanwhile, in Trump world, gas prices do continue to fall. Maybe you've noticed that. And fuel prices dictate much of the economy, which is why, one of the things that Trump did this week was he lowered those ridiculous CAFE standards that Biden put into place, right? Mm-hmm. That said by 2031, now by my math, that's 6 years from now, right? Mm-hmm. By 6 years from now, every vehicle sold has to be 50 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
I have a fairly new vehicle. Mine's getting about half that. So we're going to make the jump in 6 years to double that for every car that's sold. It was ridiculous and just increasing the cost of cars. So he's brought that back down. So that's going to help. Fuel prices are coming down. Prices of automobiles, 50,000 average. Maybe that comes down now too. Food prices, other than beef, are falling. We've seen that at the grocery store. And again, here's what Democrats want you to believe. You may look at it and go, okay, when I'm going to the store, maybe I'm not spending as much if I'm not buying beef. I see gas prices are coming down. But what they want you to believe is your situation may be okay, but everybody else is screwed. We have an affordability problem. You may be fine. They're not fine. You got to vote Democrat. Mm-hmm. And they're convincing people to do that. So we have an expert standing by. His name is Jerry Ellis, and he knows something about beef production, and we have some questions for him along these lines. So, Jerry, a longtime listener to the podcast and listener of KFKF as well, and also with We the People in Johnson County, and I know Kurt has been to your organization and spoke there. I'm planning to do something at the Lake Lotawana We the People. Do you go to that too?
I have.
All right.
Unfortunately, the Republican Women for Johnson County is on that same night, so I go with Rachel to those meetings a lot of time. But
all right.
Yeah, Chuck Quisenberry over there, he does a great job.
Good guy, and I'll let you know when I'm going to be speaking there. Maybe you can play hooky from the Republican Women.
Okay, that's a plan.
We're talking to you today because we're talking about beef prices, and I was just talking about how prices, it seems like for everything else, are coming down. Gas prices are coming down. Other food prices are coming down. Beef is still kind of a problem, and you know a little bit about that. What's your background?
Well, I've raised cattle all my life and live on the family farm here. We bought it when my folks moved to town in 1982, but we're still here, fortunately, but the cattle wasn't what paid for it. So had to be supported with off-farm income, that's for sure.
So what's the issue with beef prices? Why do you think that they are so high right now?
Well, I'll throw out a couple of things. How about?
Sure.
First of all, we have the lowest inventory since the 50s. And a lot of that is due to the fact that, well, I'm going to name urban sprawl for one thing. Missouri used to be the number 2 state in the nation for beef cow numbers, but now we've dropped down to 5 or 6, I think it is. Well, okay, so I live relatively close to Kansas City. And right now I can tell you there are 11 families living on land that was formerly owned by my family. When you take that much urban sprawl and you take out all those acres, cows disappear. So I had 169 cows at one time, and we're down to 35 now, what I can run on my own place. So you lose a significant amount when people move out of the city and move into the country, and everybody wants their little slice of heaven, and that I understand.
Yeah,
I certainly want to live out here. So you take something like that, and a good example, my brother had 20 acres that after he passed away, my sister-in-law sold, and that became 2 10-acre tracts that there's people that living on that moved out of Jackson County, out of the city, and wanted to get into the country, never lived in the country before. So you take land away and it that disappears forever.
So that's one issue. What's the other issue?
Well, you remember here a couple of years ago, we had all those wildfires out in western Kansas.
Yes.
There was a lot of drought. The upper plains, I guess you could say, has had a long stretch of drought. And what happens, you take what you could run several cows on. Now with the drought, you can't run that many cows. So people start selling off, first of all, their older cows and send them to town. They become McDonald's hamburgers. And then, so you have a lot fewer cattle from that standpoint.
You know, I've been out west, Jerry, and I've been to Montana, which is just a wide open area. There's a lot of land there.
There is. Now, you can't run the same amount of cows per acre as you can here in Missouri. We're blessed, I guess you could say, to be living in this country where you can run about, typically three acres will support a cow year round. And out west, it's 10 to, depending on where you are, 10 to 50 acres. So it makes a world of difference.
Democrats are always looking for government solutions to everything, and I just don't operate that way. When I see a problem, I turn to somebody who knows what they're talking about, which is you, and then I ask you, what needs to be done here?
Well, first of all, I am a big Trump supporter. I'm going to say it right out loud in front of everybody.
But I think you're okay here with that.
Okay. Well, when he said that the ranchers need to get cut their prices, I kind of came unglued on that one.
Yeah.
Because we don't. We accept the prices that are offered. If I take an old cow to town and go to sale barn, it's what that buyer bids on that cow. I don't tell him what I'm willing to pay or what I'm willing to take. So that was a misnomer to me on Trump's part. And I will tell you, you remember when John F. Kennedy made the famous quote, "The farmer is the only person in our economy who buys everything at retail and sells at wholesale and pays the transportation both ways." So we kind of get stuck in the
I'm not familiar with that quote, but I know a lot of John F. Kennedy quotes, and he was one of my heroes when I was a kid growing up. So, So, all right. We're looking for solutions here, though. So from your perspective, what's the solution?
Okay. Well, he wants to bring in beef from Argentina. I don't have a problem with that, honestly. As an example, let's say we bring in 1 million pounds of Argentine beef. I know that's been discussed. Well, what does 1 million pounds translate to?
I need to go back to Slim for Life if I got 1 million pounds.
Well, if you divide that 1 million pounds by quarter-pound burgers, let's say.
All right.
So McDonald's, I know in 2021, they sold 5.4 million burgers a day. So 1 million pounds divided by 4, so you get quarter pounders. That's 4 million burgers. So what that amounts to, we're eating that beef from Argentina in one day, we'll say.
Drop in the bucket.
Drop in the bucket. So I don't have a problem with bringing in beef, but what I have a problem with as far as beef prices in the store, that's all on the packer. The ranchers, we sell our beef, sell our cattle to the packers, to the feedlots or packers, depending on the age and stage that they are in. And then these packers, once they're ready to process, and there's 4 main packers in the U.S., and they basically have a monopoly on the whole country as far as being able to, hey, this is what we're going to pay. And if you don't like it, tough. So once that cow, we'll say cow, steer, goes to the packer and they process it, then it's up after that. The packers sell to the grocery stores, etc. And they're the ones that set the price on the beef. So,
well, I think it all comes down to supply and demand then. If people stop buying beef, prices are going to come down.
It very much is supply and demand. So,
well, I don't know if we solved anything here, but I am hungry for a steak now.
Yep.
So if you got a good steak there, hold it out for me.
All righty. Appreciate that. Eat beef.
Jerry Ellis, thank you so much for joining us, and hope to catch up with you at a We the People event here soon.
Look forward to it, Dale. I'll listen to you tomorrow morning when I'm in the barn.
All right, buddy. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Okay, so it comes down to supply and demand and the packers out there, and we appreciate Jerry Ellis for joining us to set some of that straight, at least from the rancher's perspective on this. I want to switch gears here quickly and go to the debt clock. We've shown the debt clock a lot on this podcast, and I want to show you something fascinating because we have never seen this in the history of us showing the debt clock. Now, the debt is continuing to grow. We are approaching, I think, $39 trillion. When you get that up there, we'll say that we'll see that for sure. 38.4. Yeah. But I want you to focus on the deficit. See the deficit clock? What is it doing?
Where is that?
The deficit is to the
U.S. federal
deficit.
budget deficit.
Yeah.
1.7.
Yeah, but look at the clock on it. Was it ticking up or ticking down?
Down.
It is ticking down. We've never seen that before. Now, that's a result of what's going on with the whole Doge thing, limiting spending and all that. Because if you look just to the right of that on the revenue side, we're still pulling in over $5 trillion in revenue to this country. $5 trillion. So the debt going up, not great. Stock market's soaring, helpful to anyone with a 401k. Mortgage rates, as we said, are falling to make homeownership more accessible. Scott Bessent claims in the latest cabinet meeting that the best is yet to come in 2026. I'm very bullish about it. I want America to do well. The Democrat solution, we have a video for that.
Oh, got to pull it up. Here's our man.
Let me ask you a different question about taxes, because I think taxes, historically, Republicans have called for lower taxes. Democrats have called for higher taxes. Philosophically, and given the inequality and wealth disparity in the country, what do you think is an approach that actually makes sense and makes sense to those being taxed as well, even those at the highest rates?
Let's try 39.5, which we had during the 90s, which is the most prosperous decade we've had since World War II. Why don't we try that? And there's not an iota of evidence that says that cutting taxes on wealthy people creates anything other than more wealth for wealthy people. So, and also, if you look at under Democratic presidents, economic growth, stock market growth, GDP growth, it's not even close. So this is raising taxes on high-income people to a rate of 40% it's not only the economically wise thing to do, it's the moral thing to do.
Oh, here we go.
Do you think people will leave?
It's the moral thing to do. It's about this guy makes more money than you do. Another play from the playbook, right? Yep. Somebody else has something you don't have, and that's not fair. I've never given two shits about what somebody who has done more in their life or inherited more than I got, what they have. I could care less. I'm in it for me. I'm working hard to feed my family, and I'm going to do the best that I can, and I'm not going to worry about anybody else. And he talks about 39.5%. That was a reduction down to 39.5%. Tax rates used to be a lot higher, marginally speaking, on the rich than they were before that. When John F. Kennedy was president, I think they had like a 90% marginal tax rate. So, and it only affects the rich. Define the rich. That's something the Democrats have a struggle with. Rich people to them are a couple of people making an income, owning their own house. You are rich, and therefore you can afford taxes. I have always said that we should establish what the government ought to do, how much it costs, and what's the fairest way to tax it. And these people that you're taxing at 40%, throw in state taxes, local taxes, sales taxes, other fees, capital gains taxes on money making money. And then the government, by the way, if you have an IRA or a 401k, that's an IOU to the government. Mm-hmm. They are waiting for you to start taking that out because they're going to have their hand out as well. So my question for Jim Carville is, how much is he okay with us keeping?
Yeah, right.
Right? All right. So then there's this. Last time on the podcast, we played the viral video with members of Congress telling the military they don't have to follow what they consider to be illegal orders. Sunny Hostin, we love her at The View. I hope that show goes on forever and ever because we pull clips from it. Maybe Sunny Hostin will represent them at their court-martial because she, Kurt, has the facts.
But in terms of the law of it, you're right, Sarah. That is why those Army vets explained do not follow, you do not have to follow illegal orders. You know why? Because if this is deemed to have been war crimes, which by all accounts right now, there are 7 sources that said Pete Hegseth did say kill them all, even after there were 2 survivors, which you're supposed to do under international law. You are supposed to take those fighters as war criminals, prisoners of war, and you're supposed to give them refuge and you're supposed to take care of them, and then you are supposed to put them into a court of law. Instead, they killed them. That means the person who gave the order can be held accountable and put in prison, and that means the person that conducted, the people that conducted the orders, that pulled the trigger, are also responsible and can be held accountable. But
we got to deconstruct all of that because, you know, she said sources say, remember we talked about that last time, sources say. Okay,
sources familiar with the matter. Yeah. Agree with me.
The admiral who is running the strike group in the Caribbean testified before a bipartisan group of senators and told them that Pete Hegseth did not give that order. And I don't know, when did Sunny Hostin get her JD? And does she have...
She's an expert. She's an expert in international law, Dale. Don't question it.
International maritime law? I mean, because she seems to know everything about that.
Yes.
Where was she when Obama was droning on a daily basis, killing alleged terrorists and taking out a few civilians at the same time?
Weddings.
Yeah. I mean, where was their due process? But nobody was counting, certainly not the Democrats. Trump is using intelligence on alleged drug smugglers coming out of Venezuela, and the Dems, you guessed it, apoplectic. It's my favorite word of the day. Attorney General Pam Bondi here.
We are committed to taking out these narco-terrorists. President Trump is, Marco Rubio is, our entire administration. And that goes back to Joe Biden letting these foreign terrorist organizations walk into our country, come into our country through Mexico. They are narco-terrorists. What you're showing on the screen right now are terrorists, and they are being blown up. We are not going to agree. You know, these Democrats don't want to agree with us. It's crazy. The drugs that are flowing into our country from these terrorists are killing our children. And if Donald Trump won't protect, if the Democrats won't protect our children, Donald Trump will, by any means we need to, within the legal realm of our society. And that's what we're doing. As far as a classified memo, I'm not going to discuss that, but I will say Venezuelan drug dealers need to tread very, very carefully, because if you are a narco-terrorist, if you are a TDA, we are coming after you. President Trump has made that crystal clear. No more will they be coming into our country thanks to Joe Biden. No more will they be killing our kids with this poison that is flowing into our country from Venezuela, from Mexico, from all of these other countries, fentanyl being made in China. That's what this is about, protecting Americans every single day, Shannon. We have to.
How would you like to be on the other side of an argument with her?
Yeah, imagine her poor husband.
Oh my God, no question about that. So I've, she said Democrats don't agree with him. I got a gem of a video we're going to get to in a second, but I want to get here first. Congress does have oversight, and the administration is complying. We just mentioned the admiral testifying before a joint session there. But releasing videos sowing doubt with our military is out of bounds. It's out of bounds. And, by the way, Mark Kelly, have you found any illegal orders that Trump has issued?
Sort of flimsy legality that was being offered during the briefings. Were these sort of strikes that are now in the news what you were making reference to when you posted that video telling members of the military that they needed to feel okay just obeying orders that they felt were illegal?
Based on who this president is and who the Secretary of Defense is, and specifically, things that the president has said in the past and things he was talking about doing in the future. Let me give you an example. 2016, he's talking about something on a debate stage that was clearly illegal. And he was reminded by Brett Baer from Fox News that that would be an illegal order. Military won't do that. You know what the president's response was to that? The military will not refuse my orders. Implying that even if they are illegal, they will not refuse them. He's also talked about shooting protesters in the legs. Then he's talking about deploying more troops to American cities and using those cities as training grounds. Do you know what that means? That means using the American people for the military to train on. So we were looking forward to try to head something off at the pass that could have been really, really bad. So,
we're looking forward to head something off of the pass. And then the other thing he mentioned was the debate stage in 2016. I'll remind everybody, Donald Trump was not president in 2016. He did not give an order in 2016. And what he might do, are you kidding me? Now, show me where SCOTUS, Supreme Court, co-equal branch of the government, has ruled that Trump has broken the law. One example where they told him he couldn't do something and he did it anyway. Show me any example where that happened. He is even respecting the ridiculous orders coming from district judges who have no right to create national policy. And I'm hoping that in this session of the Supreme Court, they're going to have the balls to tell those district court judges, you don't have that power. Elena Kagan said that. We played that clip from Elena Kagan, one of the most liberal. She's not probably the most liberal. You got the other one that's probably more liberal than she is. But she said in an interview that district court judges don't have the right to do that. They didn't have the right to do it for Biden or Trump either time. So maybe the court will have the balls to tell them that they can't do that. But even so, when they've issued those injunctions, he has respected that while the process of appeal went forward. Now, I told you I had a great video. This is a Joe Biden video. Remember when you probably don't because you're not old enough. Way back in the 80s, way back in the old times, when Joe was he was a veteran senator.
Back when cars used to cost.
Yeah. He was looked at as a centrist senator. He really was. He wasn't looked at as this flame-throwing liberal lefty and all that. So he put out a video. This is when Bush 41 was president. And Bush 41 was doing some interdicting of narco-terrorists, right? And Joe Biden criticized him for not going far enough.
Every president for the past 2 decades, Democrat and Republican alike, has declared war on drugs. And each of them has lost that war and lost it miserably. They lost because they attempted to deal with only part of the drug problem. They lost because their initiatives were pulled apart by bureaucratic squabbling among their advisors. They lost because they always did too little and they did it too late. We don't oppose the president's plan. All we want to do is strengthen it. We don't doubt his resolve. All we want to do is stiffen it. The trouble is that the president's proposals are not big enough to deal with the problem. We think we should do more to stem the flow of drugs across our borders, and we think we should go one step further. Let's go after the drug lords where they live, with an international strike force. There must be no safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it. We have to lock up the dealers for a long, long time. And we have to attack the source from which the drugs come. And we have to do that not a piece at a time, but all at once. And we have to do it now. And there's not any reason why we can't do that. We have the power, we have the money, and we have the knowledge.
Wow. That's Joe Biden.
International Strike Force.
International Strike Force. Go do exactly what Donald Trump is doing. And, so there is that piece of it. And they've got great intelligence. They know what they're doing. Have you seen the close-up of the boat that's coming that's got all the big blue tubs on it that obviously have drugs in them? They're certainly not fish tanks. You got one driver of the whole thing. He's doing exactly what he should. And he moved a carrier force in there. Now, my question would be, why aren't you sending out ships like Coast Guard cutters or whatever and interdicting these ships? Yeah. I mean, look at that. Are those fish tanks? You got 2 guys on the boat, 3 guys. You got 3 motors on it. It's a fast-moving boat. And what's in those tubs?
It's Mexican Coke, the good stuff with the sugar. Not cocaine, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, stepped on so many times. Maybe some fentanyl in there, too. So Why aren't they interdicting it with other ships where you could stop them and arrest them or whatever? I don't know. He's the commander in chief. And as John Kennedy said the other day, he's right on the law. What they're doing on Capitol Hill is just squabbling like they always squabble. And they really the Democrats should watch this video from Joe Biden. None of it, Kurt, deals with the demand issue in this country. If there were no demand for this product, they wouldn't be trying so hard to get it here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we do that.
Well, part of the problem with the demand is that it's so addictive and so destructive that once people get hooked on it, they need it, to survive, basically. I mean, they can't go without it. So that's you can thank China for that, I guess, because they're the ones that are manufacturing it. But
as long as we have Article 2 of the Constitution, which we have, the president has every right to do what he's doing here. Every president has, to some degree or another. Barack Obama with drones on suspected terrorists. Both of the Bushes did this sort of thing. Bill Clinton did this sort of thing. All the way back, presidents have the Article 2 power as commander-in-chief of the military, and he is using it within his power. There's oversight from Congress. That's already happening. So this country functions as it should. Just take a deep breath, and it's all going to be okay. I promise you. Especially if you've got Bob Watson on your case. He is my State Farm insurance agent, and he's ready to help you. 7th and Main in Blue Springs, a full team on your side. And you really don't know what kind of insurance you have until you need it. Ask any of the people who were in the demolition derby in the Kansas City area on Monday, with not pre-treated roads and a little bit of ice comes on there, and it looked like somebody told me it looked like the old electric football game because you had cars going the wrong direction and all that. That was fun. Not fun for a lot of people. Probably not a good day for Bob Watson. His phone was probably ringing off the hook, but he took care of his people like he's taken care of my family for 3 decades. He's been a State Farm agent for over 50 years, and he's ready to look at what your situation is and give you a rate quote. Bundle your home and car insurance and save even more. We're at the end of the year. Home insurance is going to be something you're going to take a look at and get the best deal you can. 816-229-7878. Auto Home Life, insured or licensed rather in Missouri and Kansas. Terrific guy, Bob Watson, 816-229-7878. Now, I really had to dig to find this story on the wire, Kurt. It was amazing because in the build up to it, Democrats were like, we've got a blue wave going. We flipped Virginia. We held on to New Jersey. We got a communist or a Marxist or whatever the hell he is, democratic socialist running New York City now. We're going to build on that. We're coming to red state America, and we're going to flip the center of Tennessee to blue. And it didn't happen. Matt Van Epps spoiled their fun. He won over Democrat community organizer Afghan Bain. I will tell you that the Tennessee 7th includes Nashville, Tennessee, the home of country music. Maybe Afton would have had a better chance if this video had not surfaced.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music, I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it. Yeah, I'm that girl at the airport that all these bachelorettes are giddy walking out in their two-toned colored Pantone pink shirts, and they walk out and they're like, oh my God, Nashville is so bad.
They're so loud.
Oh my God, I just hate Nashville, Kurt.
I've been.
Whoops.
I want to be your congressperson, Nashville, but I hate country music. I mean, I'm a politician. I get some of this, and I am running in places like Grain Valley and Oak Grove and Buckner. And if you found tape of me anywhere saying, oh, look at this bunch of hayseeds out here, you won't find that. And you could take what I just said there and turn it into something out of context, but it's not true. I love those people. I love living there. I've lived there over 30 years. I cannot imagine saying the things like that and then deciding that you're going to run to represent those people and being shocked when you lose.
Yep. I agree.
There you go. So on that point of agreement with a lot of stuff here, this is probably a long episode. We'll come back next week, perhaps with a shorter episode. I don't know. We'll find out. Next week on Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.